ourselves. All right, we're live.
We're live. All right, I'm gonna bring the meeting to order. I'm John Berube from 135 River Road.
Kit McDaniel, Select Board Rep.
Carrie Mackinnon, Community Development Director.
Adam Standall, 9 Edgewood Drive.
Jessica Duke, 50 Brown Hill Road.
Ben Davis, 9 Wheeler Road. Michael Lawton, 3 Asa Drive.
Sandy Crystal, 1 Shoreview Drive. Ginger, Secretary.
Okay. So the first thing up, which we have no minor modifications or conceptual contemplations. So we're gonna go to public hearings. But before we get started with application one, we're gonna go into non-public session, to hear what our town attorney had to say about it, and we'll be back, so. Oh, yeah, okay, go ahead, Sandy.
I was going to recuse myself from the next application.
I move that we enter a non-public session for the purpose of RSA A 21-A:3, number 2L, consideration of legal advice provided by legal counsel.
I'll second.
Favor?
Aye.
We'll be back shortly.
Be right there.
Okay.
It's so bad. I can't. It takes like 30 seconds for the letters. It's not. If you want to head down and, no, you just have to wait it out. I'll be there in a minute. You can pass it around and right there.
You want me to?
Do you want to?
Yeah.
It's just like mind-numbingly slow.
What do I need to do?
I'm just trying to get it to say in non-public session and change the name, and then
Okay.
after you do that.
Press audio and video?
Well, yeah.
All right. We're back. We're gonna work on application 501-24, Tyler Builders. Continued from 8/15/24. Subdivision application for 3-lot subdivision to be accessed by shared driveway and serviced by individual wells, individual septic systems located off Brown Hill Road, map 8, lot 4, lot 123. Zoned rural. You're up.
I didn't hear you.
You did just come from the sidewalk?
I didn't hear your sigh at the end. You just smiled. Okay. I'm gonna back up a little bit. We were first here with a driveway back in March. And at that point, we had 7 things for me to look at. One of the fire department was looking for a wider driveway. I ended up sending the fire chief an email I had from the previous fire chief, and he went along with, okay, 16 feet's okay. Site distance, obviously. I have to note underground utilities. A turnaround at the end for the fire truck, which we kind of showed, but didn't really say it's a turnaround. Minimize salt, private screening to the Duke's property line, a culvert under the wetlands, which we talked about for the wildlife critters. And the last meeting, somebody brought up garbage cans and mailboxes. Out of all that, I think site distance is the only one we can't achieve, or at least we feel we can achieve. So saying that, Bedford Design prepared this plan. We contracted with Steve Pernoff to review the site distance. You guys have the memo. Basically, it's saying if you're sitting here 10 feet back, car coming this way is gonna see you at 275 feet. He's gonna see the car. Stopping site distance is 215, so he can stop prior to hitting this car pulling out with 60 feet to spare. I don't remember the exact term Mr. Pernow used. Plan demonstrates drivers on Brown Hill Road approaching the subject intersection from both directions will be able to see any vehicle stopped in the shared driveway, approach a sufficient distance in advance of the intersection to come to a full stop if needed. Then we send out for third-party review to Gale Engineering. Gale Engineering subbed out the site distance traffic information to VHB. Gale Engineering came back with 3 or 4 or 5 comments about the swale, stone check dams, culvert, those little things, which are easy. VHB basically just said, you don't meet the regulation 14.5 feet back 275 feet. That's really what VHB said. Then somebody from Gale Engineering, who's not a traffic engineer, came back and had their little comment in the last email. So we have a traffic engineer, Steve Pernoff, saying it's gonna work. We have somebody from VHB saying it doesn't meet the regulations. Then we have a PE that's not a traffic engineer saying it doesn't work. Basically. In a nutshell. You know, if I got to talk about that's really, we all know that's what it comes down to. Safe stopping site distance we don't have intersection site distance. That's the key. We get denied a driveway permit for those reasons. We appeal on a driveway permit to you guys. And we have a conditional use permit application from you. I'm sure Mrs. Pansiaka would like to expand on what I'm saying.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. If I can get back straight.
Yeah, I will sit down in a nice comfy chair like you
I
guys.
may as well have a seat.
Thanks.
Okay. So the part I wanted to talk about is the standard of review. Just for a minute. The planning board's authority to regulate driveways is in 236:13. And it basically allows the planning board to act like DOT inside municipality. And it confers all the same powers, but it is your enabling statute to review driveways. So in your regulations, then you adopted a driveway section where it says provisions of 236:13 and 14 apply. And the conditions extend to classified roads of classes 4 and 5. Responsible for the property owner to maintain portions of the driveways associated with drainage and located within the public way. So I think we all know that, but it also, the Public Works Department has their driveway regulations. And it talks about the adequate safe site distance, and where the planning board has not determined a minimum adequate site distance via subdivision and site review, it refers to the AASHTO standard of 275 feet. So if I understand it correctly, this got referred to the Public Works Department for a look. And he took a look, he went through the analysis that he told us about when we were out on the sidewalk this evening. And I guess and this is a little bit of a distinction, when he met with you, Craig, he suggested, well, if you can meet the 10-foot, the planning board may consider that, rightfully so, instead of the 14.5 feet. What VHB addressed was strictly 14.5, not the 10. And I think that's where it ended. He wasn't privy probably to what the Public Works Director had suggested. But Steve Purnall was, and I think that's why the two opinions were a little bit different.
Steve Purnall was not aware of that.
The 10-foot?
No, that's from his experience.
Oh, so that's from his experience.
Yes.
So that
That
came in
didn't-
separately.
Yes.
Okay, so that's good information. That's separate points of view. So standing on Al's property and you look to the left, you have the 275 for the car coming up the road, and you can see down 275. So everything's okay on the left. On the right, that's where the 215, when you're looking up the hill to the right. But the car coming down the hill can see us, correct me if I'm wrong, looking at somebody looking to pull out of the driveway from 275 feet away. So we comply with 3 out of 4 is, I think, what I am hearing. At the 10-foot back that everybody has kind of said is reasonable. We also have those little flares on the end of the driveway where, well, I don't know what kind of drivers all of you are, but if I were at the end of that driveway looking to the right, I'd be pulling over to the side a little to get a little better look up, see what's coming down the hill. But that's just me, just a compensating factor in the practical aspect of looking to see what's coming at you. It sounds to me like the biggest concern that keeps coming up is the rate of speed where people travel along the road. Although I think you explained, Mr. Chairman, the balance between the lower speed limit, the sight distance, they all converge in the middle. And the reasoning for all that. So with all that in mind, we are 3/4 of the way. We're 25%. We're a little bit short looking up the hill. But because these regulations, the driveway regulations, in your subdivision regulations, and of course, the Public Works Director's recommendations that defer to you are technically planning board made law. They're not like zoning, that they're adopted by the legislative body once a year, and you need a zoning variance to change them. This is a little different, and you've probably dealt with this before. But I often find, and if I'm telling you something you know, please forgive me, because I find planning boards don't understand the difference between a waiver of your regulations versus a variance from a zoning ordinance. So on page 58 of your regulations, it says that you have the authority to waive strict conformity with your subdivision regulations, one subset of which is the driveway regulations. When strict application of the regulations would cause undue hardship to the owner, and that's the property owner of the land, or, and that's an or, where specific circumstances relative to the subdivision or the conditions of the land in such subdivision indicate a waiver will properly carry out the spirit and the intent of the regulations. A subdivision plan substantially in conformity with your regulations may be approved by the board, provided the spirit of the regulations and public convenience and welfare are not adversely affected. So for that 25% that we just talked about a moment ago, unless I missed something, we talked about this out at the site and we ran it by the Public Works Director, but he again deferred to the planning board. We're more than happy to put some sort of speed monitor, I had a picture, I was looking for them today on the internet, and it showed a picture of, the flashing thing, you're going this fast but this is the speed limit, just to kind of get people to pay attention, because the world we live in now goes so fast. And I really think how fast we drive is a function of all that. We're always rushing to the next deadline. Craig had suggested if he was to be asked to choose a location, it would be directly across on the telephone pole from where the driveway into Al's property would enter. And of course, we would look for permission from the town to take that big tree that looks like it's starting to age pretty unfavorably down and move everything out of the way to improve the sight distance is to the best that it could be possibly done. So with that said, I think you did, Craig, submit a written waiver, but I just wanted to talk about that standard of review because it is a balance of property rights, but with your job of enforcing your regulations narrowly and flexibly for each parcel of land because they're all different. And that's all I have to say unless you have questions for me.
So with all that, you make a wonderful argument. The one piece that doesn't come in and why we have these regulations that, yes, our site distance is for that 30-mile-an-hour road. And like I said, and you just agreed, traffic doesn't travel at 30 miles an hour. I did in my truck, and it's because of how vehicles are built today. It's tough to keep at 30, stay at 30 miles an hour. It just, they want to go. One of the big pieces that you missed is, the reason why we have this is the safety factor. The piece that, when the planning board allows, now normally driveway permits, Public Works allows that. We don't usually worry about you have to have a driveway permit.
Yes.
It's
You
all
delegate.
we're saying, and now, which our Public Works Director has let us know that this is not safe and didn't think it wasn't, has denied the permit. Now it's coming to us, and my big problem is, when this is there, and, that cars that going faster than they should, and hits that, it's that car, which, yes, they can see the bumper, but this guy can't see him, he's gonna pull out. And it's that time and that safety, and when an accident happens, the question is, why did the planning board allow that to happen? Our Public Works Director denied the driveway permit, and the planning board let him have it anyways.
He could not meet the strict letter of what was in his regulation.
And that strict letter, the ASHTO, which is 14.5 feet, we can squeeze it up. Let's see if we can get it to 10 feet, which I'm good with. That's,
Okay.
we can, you're gonna crouch up a little bit more, you still don't quite get there. Does the car coming down might see your bumper, but that guy behind the wheel that's about to pull out, or that 16-year-old kid, whatever that pulls out of one of the, you know, houses that I'm sure will have families in it. Pulls out, you know. When that car's 150 feet away and can't. And going, you know, 20 miles an hour faster than they should be. It's gonna be, why did they let them put a driveway there for 3 houses?
But I guess my question, Mr. Chairman, is we were out there and we heard from a neighbor. She sees less than we can see from a
Yeah.
new driveway. And how many others are out there?
And if you were putting one house on there,
Yeah,
I don't think that you'd even be here talking to the planning board.
no, because we wouldn't need a subdivision,
You would need
obviously.
a subdivision and I don't think that you could deny access for a single, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
You know, I've never had that come before, or somebody that got denied a driveway permit from the town for a single house is, you know, in the 12 or 15 years I've been on this, I haven't seen that question.
Well, I don't believe he gave a reason for a denial other
It
than,
didn't meet the regs and.
okay, but
And
why?
it didn't meet the regs even after, you know, shortening, you know, going from 14 and a half to the 10 feet, you know, it still didn't make it, so it wasn't.
To your point, I'm sympathetic that there are driveways in town that don't meet the sightline,
Roads too.
but that doesn't mean that we just ignore our regulations.
And I'm not suggesting that.
You know, a lot of us, Don's been here a while,
Yep.
but a lot of us weren't here to approve this stuff. And the point of regulations is to use them.
The guy,
So I'm sympathetic, but it doesn't, for me, it's not an argument that holds any weight, that like, we've done it before. So.
and I'm not saying that because every parcel of land is different. Every set of circumstances is different. And as I drove here from where we were out there, it was further out than I normally go. I'm going over whole hills and going around curves. I'm saying, I can't see what's coming at me on public roads. It's just the way the old roads were built. I don't think they started actually measuring sight distance
Well, they-
until fairly recently.
The original subdivision of that lot was,
It's horrific.
no doubt about it, but that doesn't. You know, I mean, to put another wrong, I just have a tough time.
Well, I think that,
I mean, I feel bad, and I am all for people have a right to develop their
Yes.
property and, you know, but I just. Like I said, you know, a single house going in there, if you can get, you know, some. Variance from neighbors to, you know, so you could get a driveway there, that would be, you know, with some safe site distance, you know. That would be great.
you know, that would go a long way, not just for us, but it would also perhaps help the neighbor who can't see the cars coming up the hill. But there hasn't been any thought of any cooperation with that, and it wouldn't be that much.
Because nobody wants to develop in their backyard.
And that's not what you use that for.
I agree.
And
I mean, if they don't want houses there, they should buy that property, is my opinion. That's my personal opinion. That's how you protect land.
And
I'd
that's
really
why-
like to buy that piece of property next to me from Eric Anderson, you know. You know, that's how he controls his neighbors, and that's how I want to control my neighbors. I'm happy that the town well is behind me or on the corner of it, so I'm not worried about having any out there.
not in the public interest, right?
You know, it's just. But
But that's why
you know, this
housing,
gentleman does, he's got a right to develop it, but. For us to say, put 3 houses out there, that's the part. That is very tough for them.
why is the standard different for 3 than for 1?
Traffic,
You're talking 10 to 15 cars a day?
that's 3 times the number of cars.
3, yeah.
Mhm,
I mean, that's
mhm.
in my head.
Can I ask what was observed at the site walk tonight, with regard to mailboxes and trash and recycling bins?
We didn't really talk about that.
Okay,
We have over 100 feet of frontage. I'm sure we can find a place for 3 mailboxes and 6 trash cans.
at least 6.
Yeah, at least.
But that's another. More
That's easily resolved.
And some more mailboxes, which can further obstruct the view too.
You know, this is,
Yeah, I mean, I get interested, you know, obviously we'd have to want to see that done reasonably, but I'm
Mhm.
sure
Yeah.
seeing how that property does cut in onto the, you know, into the neighbor's lawn, that's not really the neighbor's lawn in that section, that you probably have some room to.
Yeah, I think we have room to put trash cans in mailboxes. I don't think that's gonna be a big issue.
Yes. Does the board have anything else they'd like to add before I open this to the public?
So so
Or-
we're kind of considering this all together, but I think the first item the board will need to address is the appeal of the driveway permit. I think that's where it makes sense to start. So I'd say if you open it up to the public, maybe people could direct their comments specifically to that, and particularly comments that haven't been voiced already. We've had a few
Yeah,
public
so we
hearings
haven't,
already.
we haven't got to the second part of this, that's why I did read just the first one, because I'd like to just address the driveway.
Can I want to add one thing? I forgot to mention. Somebody in the site walk mentioned snow storage, snow banks. We have 1.5 feet of clearance right now. So 1.5 feet high snow bank is not gonna affect the site distance at all. So you wing it back, it shouldn't be too bad. You're looking right down that stone wall, basically.
Mhm.
Just wanted to point it out that there is little room for some snow storage.
Okay. So with that, I'm gonna open this to the public, and we are right now talking about the driveway. You know, if we get past that point, I will open the public hearing again for other issues on the lot, as far as the wetlands and that stuff. So if anybody has any comments they'd like to add, this is the time to get it in the public record. Please.
Walter Presty, 56 Brown Hill. I see the snow being an issue, and I say that for the reason being that I have a gravel driveway, so I only clear the end of my driveway and snow below the rest of it. And even with the minimal snow we've had these years, I'm out there in the middle of the winter, counting, clipping those piles back. I'm clipping that pile back, breaking my back doing it. So there's a period of time where you're not even gonna see the footage this way or that way, because the way this driveway is going in, they would either have to dump on either land to not go straight. They're gonna have to go straight out with this snow. Where are they gonna, they can't go to the side because there's wells and on one side, and there's property on, they don't own the property to push the snow, where they're gonna have to push the snow for the 200 feet till they get to their big area, is my point. So it's gonna have to come out to Brown Hill.
Well, they can't push it out into Brown Hill. They will have to, you know, wing to the side, open the front up. I mean, they can't push it out into Brown Hill.
Bringing it to the side where we were standing on that white line, it's gonna make two big piles of snow that you're not gonna even get the safe distance. You know what I'm saying? It'd be at the end of the driveway. Because there's no
Yeah, I
way,
mean, I
unless they're
did-
gonna drive it into the houses that
I
they're gonna
did see
build.
there, you know, where the actual property line is.
Yeah.
You know, which is, you know, the neighbor to on the uphill side. There's quite a bit there that looks like the neighbor's lawn.
Right,
That's, you know, that corner that is not the neighbor's lawn. You know, that, and I don't see that being, you know, that seems like a pretty big area to push
Yeah.
snow and, you know, it's still, I mean, when winter
but
gets
they have
here,
to be the neighbor.
everybody has an issue seeing out of their driveway because the snowbanks are there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess on this one, you got 3 families that can go out there and shovel it out of the way so they can see when it's at the end of their driveway.
Right.
Just like you do at the end of your driveway,
Yeah.
and I do at the end of my driveway, you gotta
Right.
get those banks, you know, so. I don't see that as a, you know, a really an argument about, you can't do this here, it's that.
And also, we've all experienced where first time you go out after the snow and you clean or get your driveway plowed, town comes back up and there's then the bump, right? Or the frozen bump.
Yes,
Now, having a driveway with a frozen bump that has a limited sight view and trying to get out of that bump or get stuck on that bump when somebody or that plow is coming up the road or that plow is going down the road is gonna be a catastrophe.
Well, I mean.
I've been stuck on
That
my,
argument though is for every driveway on the road, on the hill.
Yeah.
If it's on a hill.
right, I agree, but yeah, that is an issue where it's gonna be more dangerous with 3 homes than 1 home. Thank you.
Yes.
Lisa Maxwell, 54 Brown Hill Road. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak. I'm that person who was standing in the driveway saying I looked left and right several times because I'm right at that 275 marker. The first thing I wanted to point out is we have not just regular traffic cars on there, but many pickups and a lot of commercial vehicles that also come down that hill. And like you said, it's, you know, gravity, and it makes it hard to keep them from going up, you know, at 30. I hear them go by sometimes. I don't know how fast it is, but it sounds pretty fast. And in the winter with ice and snow, I don't see how they could possibly stop when they first see the vehicles. The other thing, and very respectfully, I'd like to ask the board, if you do decide to give a waiver for this, what body or person will be held accountable if there's a problem?
That's a good question.
I would love an answer.
When you say responsible,
So
what are you legally responsible, morally responsible? What are you actually asking?
I suppose all of those things.
Legally, it would be the town.
I don't think that the planning board would be legally responsible for an accident.
But I think what Don was saying
Maybe-
earlier,
maybe moral.
morally, we'd be, and Don was mentioning this, we'd be the ones who've made a decision on this with people telling us something is unsafe.
Thank you, and I do hope you keep that in mind when you make your decision.
Anybody else?
Eddie Duke, 50 Brown Hill Road.
What's the last name?
Duke, D-U-K. You stole my thunder a little bit. But I just wanted to say, 3 houses, is a lot of traffic, especially look at holiday parties, Amazon trucks, landscaping trucks. If you can't fix the sightlines, which you can reduce the hazard by reducing the number of houses. You get 1 house on there, it's a lot safer. So I don't want people to think they're voting to close the property off for development forever. You could just say no to this plan.
Anybody else? So with that, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Where do we go from there?
Yeah,
Is
that's a great.
Ben voting tonight? Don?
What do we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, we're gonna stick with 5, so we,
Yeah, Ben.
sorry, Ben.
Okay, so there's really 3 applications to consider. There's the appeal to the driveway permit, there's the subdivision, and there's the CUP. So I would recommend starting with the appeal of the driveway. So just so everyone's clear, so typically, not typically, but always, driveway permits are issued by the Public Works Director. In this case, he denied that permit, and the applicant has appealed that decision to the planning board. So now it's here for the planning board to make a decision on it. And beyond that, if parties want to, that can be appealed to the Superior Court.
My view, I'm ready to make a motion. We've dealt with this for a long time, and I think everyone deserves an answer tonight. My view, given sort of the preponderance of what we're seeing from Gail, from Tim Sweeney, is I will make a motion to deny the driveway permit because of that. It reminds me a bit of what Dave Glazier said so eloquently about the cell phone tower. It is painful, but if something went wrong at the high school and we sat here and denied a cell phone tower, that's on our heads. And I think it's a similar argument here that there's a number of issues with this. I think I hear from the board, if this is a one house driveway, you have third less traffic. There's other remedies that can be done. Is there another road into this property? Can he work with the neighbors to get other, get stuff trimmed back? But I had that argument that Dave made there is the argument I would make here that, I want to see more houses in town. It's a good thing. There's a housing crunch. But I don't want to be sitting here in a year and someone gets T-boned badly at that intersection. And we all walk in here knowing exactly why that happened. So
we're not, just a point of clarification, we're not denying the permit, right? We are not overturning Tim's denial. That's what the motion is.
Right,
Well,
you're denying an
made the
appeal.
motion, but
It would be a denial.
yeah, but we're denying the appeal of the driveway permit.
Right.
I'll second.
So I actually didn't make a motion there,
Oh,
but
Yeah,
I'll-
Sandy's ready.
so I'll make a motion to deny the driveway permit appeal on application 501-24 Tyler Builders.
I'll second.
okay. So by voting aye on this is to deny,
The drive.
is to uphold
Tim's denial.
Tim's denial.
Yes.
Right.
All those in favor of upholding Tim's denial?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Okay, so before anything else happens, we need to list some clear findings of fact for that decision.
So I'll make a motion around the finding of facts. Is that there is a very clear report from our third-party engineer. And that for people in the audience who haven't seen it, it states very clearly that, in our opinion, the proposed driveway does not meet these standards, therefore is a safety concern, which is what we discussed. Another finding of fact is Tim Sweeney is very good at his job, knows what he's doing. That it is 3 houses and not 1, thus increasing the traffic 3x. That the road itself, we've seen twice now, is hilly, windy, and not people are not always driving at 30 miles an hour. And also that I think there are other means by which something can go into this land, that there can be a single house, or the developer or the owner can find another access point in that perhaps doesn't face the same problem. So those would be my motion for the finding of facts.
And, so, those in favor of the finding of facts?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There we go.
Do you want to explain the next part?
Okay, so, well, maybe she wants to address it first about where we go from here.
Okay, with that decision, I guess we're gonna withdraw the other 2 applications and save you the time.
Okay.
We don't want to have to deal with substantially different and all that. I guess one point of order though, I would like to at least have the board recognize that the standard that was applied by the VHB letter was the 14.5 feet back, not the 10-foot that the Public Works suggested that you may consider. And that was the difference between the Pernaw letter and the town VHB letter. That's all.
Is that accurate?
But I would like to withdraw the other 2 applications.
In response to that, I'd just like to say that the town's third-party review letter did use that 14.5 as the standard.
Yes.
However, we asked our town engineer, what is your professional opinion on this? And he said he does not feel it is safe and he does not feel the standard should be lowered in this particular case.
Town engineer.
He applied his professional opinion to that.
Who was that? Which one?
Scott Forcier.
Yeah, but he's not a traffic guy. The traffic guys are more focused on this. I just wanted to note that for the record, that's all.
Yeah.
There were little different yardsticks, that's all.
I think also Mr. Pernaw brought up other guidances that
Yep.
weren't referenced in
Yep.
our regulations, so I think that's another issue that
Mhm.
we're following our regulations and that's what brings us to this point.
Understood. I just wanted to note that for the record, that's all. Okay,
Thank you.
so with the withdrawal, you saved you some time.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to public hearing number 3, application 407/24. Source Energy Rural Easement, Wetland Protection Conditional Use Permit for approximately 32,255 square feet of temporary wetland impact and 57,083 square feet of wetland buffer impact access to replace 17 structures along the A253 to 196 line corridor located at Eversource right away. 27-241, 28-249, 28-252, 28-2-53 E1, 32-2-9, and a few others.
That's good.
I don't think we need to get all that, yeah. So anyway,
As listed on the.
as listed, yes. Get the camera away.
That was great. Thank you for reading through all of that. If it would be helpful,
Actually, I do want to make sure one, any of this by the town well,
I am personally not sure where that is.
Here, you can, it's the,
because it is. I gotta-
one's on the Dunbarton line and then the other part is up by,
This is
the.
That goes,
by the
Actually, I think it would be helpful to have
I'm good.
color versions.
Yeah.
You're done back there. behind my-
Yeah, I have a printout to
Yeah.
see if that would be helpful. I think I have. Oh, sorry, Logan Young, with GZA Geo Environmental on behalf of Eversource. Fine.
I have one.
Oh, hold on. Oh, hold on. Well, we have one already.
Kill a lot of trees.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I was with the Conservation Commission on Monday. And this, for the one person on the board who was also there, this will be the same explanation. But this evening, I'm here to talk about, as you mentioned, 17 structure replacements along the existing A253 and C196 transmission lines. So this would be for 3 structures on the C196 line and 14 on the A253. And as you can see on the plans that we just discussed, this is largely in 2 sections of town, one by the and north, and then just south of the town line at the Merrimack. And yeah, the CUP is for temporary wetland impacts within the Wetland Conservation District. What this project is proposing is a total temporary impact amount of 32,255 square feet of temporary impacts, as well as addressing upland wetland buffer temporary impacts of 57,883 square feet. So the work for this project is the same type of thing that we've presented for different projects over recent time. So what construction crews would do would be to prepare the work areas in the same way that you have for several years, utilize existing gravel access wherever feasible. And in wetland crossings, use timber matting to minimize or avoid any impacts there. and create approximately 100 foot by 100 foot work pads during construction. Replacing the wooden structures with weathered steel poles, transfer the line to those, which would be roughly in the same location as the existing lines. And then afterwards, follow the same restoration process that is typical now of regrading is still the right term. Regrading and reducing the work pads to about 30 feet by 60 feet, removing timber matting and either reseeding the uplands or reseeding and mulching uplands or simply mulching the wetland areas.
Basically the same process. that you
Exactly
did
the same process. Yep.
Yeah, my only two questions is it the same process that you've been using the last couple of years that we've always approved? The other question is, Sandy, are you fine with it?
I have a couple of questions and raised. One is I went out on the South Bow Road, the parcel that's PSNH. And I found that at the second crossing, it's not a really large one, the wetland to the west is larger, whatever. In the middle there are timber mats there already that look like they were not removed from the last time work was done.
I believe those are what we had mentioned in the conservation meeting as what the Snowmobile Club is using for bridging. That's the knowledge I have.
Okay, well, I know there was some discussion there, but the fact is that they should not remain, and if they're going to be there for the Snowmobile Club, then it needs to be permitted as a trail or so that they can access it in an appropriate manner and not have timber mats sitting in there.
I am going to, the most I can do right now is,
Yeah, no, I
but
understand.
that
It's
is,
like, okay,
that is taken.
And the other thing that we've talked about at some prior project discussions is about using gates, because also you have the mats there, it really encourages, kind of ATV use. And definitely that first wetland crossing is definitely rutted and not vegetated, and I know that it's called out in the permit application, in the CUP application, but I think if, you have a big stone entry, there's nothing that says no ATV use or anything, there are no gates. So to say, well, it's ATVs that are doing that, I think there needs to be some sense of responsibility for controlling the use, particularly non-winter. If it's part of the snowmobile trail, system, that's fine. I did see where it gears off at the south end of the property. But we talked about it, and sometimes the comment I got, well, we have to go to the landowners and ask them if they want gates. Well, this is a PSNH property. So there's no landowner issue there. And I just think that, this type of stuff needs to be addressed.
Sure.
Because it is kind of silly that you go through all these hoops when the mats are being left there when they shouldn't be, or there needs to be a different crossing if it's for snowmobiles, and then also reducing the ATV damage particularly.
Sure. I can't make a commitment to the gate there, but I don't know why there would be an issue with that from what I've seen.
Clearly you'd have to put some other rocks there to reduce access, because it's not like it's just a gate with opening.
Yeah.
And such, but we've discussed this at previous meetings with Ashley and stuff, so Ashley and Lindsay. Yeah, I was hoping that we can get that addressed. That was the only section I really, I looked at, and I see that basically you have to go through the entire property just to fix things on that really.
Yeah, it's a long walk,
bad
yeah.
property.
I'll make a motion to accept the application as complete.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Can you just be clear about who's voting with all?
Oh.
Gonna ask that.
Uh,
4, 5,
We
6,
vote-
7.
It's the same, right?
7 would be.
sure we can all vote.
Oh.
There you go. Well, that's done. So all those in favor of accepting the application?
Aye.
Opposed? Accepted it. Set the public hearing. So we'll open the public, if anybody has any questions or concerns about replacing power poles. Not seeing any, I will close the public hearing.
I will state this does not have a regional impact.
Yeah, some of the project does go into Dunbarton, but I believe you're working with them.
Yeah.
Also, so.
I will
Second,
So, we're just gonna.
We need to vote, we need to vote.
We need to vote on, on,
Then
does it doesn't,
no regional interest.
okay, we have a second. All in favor?
I
Opposed?
you asking for any waivers?
Um,
I don't see it.
I don't believe. What's the timeline for the project?
Right now, the timeline is to begin in December and primarily work during the winter months. That's in part the timeline that was planned anyway, but condition from DES for one of the locations is to do it in frozen conditions.
And Sandy, were there any? I don't know if those comments from you or from the Conservation Commission? Did the Conservation Commission have any other specific comments?
They didn't raise any concerns. Disillusionment over. Particularly because one of the people had family or property that had gotten damaged. We kind of addressed it here.
Right.
So, and we couldn't set up a site walk for the Conservation Commission, so that's why I went out there today.
So I don't believe there are any waivers requested, right?
Any conditions?
So conditions, one, this is minor, but we did have to notify 2 additional abutters, so we just need the additional fee for those 2 abutters. So that's $40.
Conditions?
Yep.
Okay. Any other
Don't
conditions?
open your wall and hand it. Now, we've had people do that. It's not a good look.
I almost did. There's.
All right, and then the status of the permitting through. Yes, is,
We are submitting the vacation this month. It's not been submitted yet, but I will receive a copy when that.
okay. So that would be the other condition, is that we complete all the necessary permitting to the state.
So the 2 conditions would be paying us $40 to notify the additional
Additional
butters.
butters were notified, by the way, just.
Yes, and
Paying us our money and completing the permissions from the state would be the 2 conditions.
Does anyone have anything else that needs to be?
I guess we, need some response, follow up on the timber mats that were.
What kind of
Well, I mean, technically, they're supposed to be temporary. They're supposed to be there only for the utility use and not as a snowmobile.
So I'd say a condition would be upon completion, the removal of,
Or permitting, right? If they're gonna stay, it needs proper.
Right.
yeah,
Removal.
removal of the pads or appropriate permitting for them to remain.
Yeah.
And then would you like to make a condition that they consider a gate or work toward a
Right,
solution
yes,
to
yeah.
limit trespassing?
Yeah, I want to limit ATV use and running in the wetland. go out of their way to restore after the work is.
And we make it not a gate, Sandy, but a gate, it seems,
Reduce access.
because they can put big stones up or something like, I'd be,
It doesn't have to be gated, it's just
Yeah.
to restrict access of
yeah,
unauthorized.
Say like work to find a solution to
Yeah.
restrict access for.
exactly.
unauthorized
Another
vehicles.
condition would be, work towards a solution.
Are there signs?
Is there a preference for something other than a gate?
Just from almost an optics and stuff, just big rocks can do the trick.
The only thing that comes to mind is
They
in
have to be able to get in.
the event of some emergency need to get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when that guy on the four-wheeler is not supposed to be there, town statute anyways, he's not allowed.
Yeah.
But when they have to go rescue him because he.
Or when
Roll it over.
power lines need immediate.
Yeah, so I would just say, so to mitigate access from unauthorized vehicles is what we're looking to do.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know, we don't need to necessarily dictate what that is,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah,
Ginger, you get those four? Okay. All right, with those conditions, I'll make a motion to conditionally approve application 407.2-2 for Eversource Energy ROI easement. There it is. All I got.
yes, conditions were already stated.
In favor, opposed?
I'll make a motion.
Keep the grid up.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. The finding of facts is that we need to keep the grid up. And this is
It meets the criteria in 0.01 and the numbers. It meets the criteria.
it meets the ordinance criteria, 10.01 apparently.
And 12.5.
I knew that.
Okay.
All right, that's my motion. Adam, so yeah, Adam second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome to hold on to those if you like. I can also recycle them for you if you
Oh, sure.
don't want.
That was a big waste of paper.
Yes.
some people.
Maybe we could share one.
Here you go.
Actually,
Thank
the
you.
conservation.
It's good for the paper industry.
So they
These
got
are
to-
recycled from there, yes.
Good.
There you go.
Use somewhere else.
Here, we got any more of those yellow?
Just, you can make more.
Thank you.
It's very handy.
I know, like I was looking
I know,
for.
I actually need one.
Smile. I'm writing my name. I'm gonna write my name at the top so you guys don't see.
Oh, okay.
I need one.
Okay.
Oh, it's got a 3-hole punch, put it right in front.
Yellow.
Oh, the wrong one.
That's the wrong one. It's the cheat sheet process one.
That's the ZBA one.
So application 206-24, Brian Stacy LLC. Site plan application for proposed 12,000 square foot building with overhead doors and drive-through bays and vehicle maintenance. The septic system, a paved access drive off Vaughn Road and paved park area in a new impervious area of 23,475 square feet located at 1113 Route 3A. And I am going to recuse myself from this since I live on the backside of this property. But I'll speak in the public hearing.
Bye, Don.
Hi, good evening. My name is Bill Davidson from Hoyle Tanner. I'm the civil engineer on the site. With me tonight is Mike and Scott from Audley. So hopefully between the three of us, we can answer whatever you have for questions.
Leclerc.
Scott Stevens. I'll give you a quick little overview. I don't think you guys have any packages or plans or anything, or do
We do.
So one,
We have that.
there's that one. I can pull other things up on the screen if you need to.
So this is the Audley site. It's off of 3A. It also has frontage on Vaughn Road. I think everybody's probably pretty familiar with the site. What we're proposing is a 12,000 square foot building in this location off of Vaughn Road. It's going to be served this is about a 24-acre site overall. It's an existing in the back. They have an office building and such in the front with some other buildings, and then in the back, it's an active sand pit or gravel pit. So off Vaughn Road, there's gonna be a new 12,000 square foot building. It's gonna have water and gas and underground electric coming in off of Vaughn Road. There will be a small paved parking lot for 14 spaces on the north side, and then a small septic system that is for this building only. We do have some grading that's in this area. I think someone had just mentioned that there's about 23,000 square feet of impervious, which is the building and the parking lot. We've run hydrographic calculations on this. There will be no increase to the site or off the site downstream. There's extremely good soils in this location, hence the sand and the gravel. So infiltration and perk is extremely fast. We do have areas for snow storage and such. Everything's on this plan. We have construction details in the back that we can go through further if anybody wanted to. Originally, when we submitted this plan, it was a 12,000 square foot, but it was 100 by 120 feet. We did receive a staff memo that had some comments on it. And at that time, talking with Mike, there was a decision made to go to, it's still a 12,000 square foot building, but the configuration changed. It went from 60 feet, it went from 100 by 120 to 60 by 200. So basically it's a little bit longer and narrower, and that was just more for the efficiency of the building. So when we had received the staff memo, it gave us a little bit of an opportunity to address those comments as much as we could before we came to the planning board, as well as show the revised plans with the revised building. So on September 12th, we reissued the plans back to the planning department. And we also had a response letter that kind of went through the staff comments that we had and how we had addressed those. One of the main ones was that this was in the Aquifer Protection District. We had not have that labeled on the plans previously. So we've done that. There was a couple of housekeeping or checklist items that we went through. We did show a rendering of the building, what it would most likely look like. It's going to be a metal building. And Mike does have a rendering of that. And then also of note is that we're asking for 2 waivers. The first waiver is for a landscaping plan. It's pretty well, if anybody's driven down Vaughn Road, it's pretty well blocked by, there's a large berm on both sides, and there's an existing driveway cut that's off Vaughn Road right now that has, I'm not sure, it's got like concrete barriers, but there's another barrier there too. I'm not sure exactly what that's called, but that's blocking the entrance right now. So it's not being used right now. So we had a waiver from landscaping plan. This is going to be pretty typical aesthetics wise, which what is on the site right now. And then the other waiver that we were requesting was, typically you have a signature from a surveyor on the front side of the plans when the planning board chair goes to sign that. We are using a survey that was done back in 2005. There's been some updates to that with some of the Audley survey equipment. And then when Hoyle Tanner did the septic design, we went in there and spot checked. So we feel confident with the contours, the LiDAR contours that are shown there. So we don't have a signature from a surveyor, so to speak. We didn't feel that it was necessary, but wanted to bring it up in a waiver. It was done, the original that was done in 2005 was by a licensed land surveyor. It was King Swanson that did that originally. can certainly answer any questions if anybody has any.
Let's make a motion to accept this.
I'll second.
Oh, God, Sandy.
Oh, yes. sorry. Almost in favor.
I mean, yeah, that's great. Do you just, you want? I know Don usually tries to keep it an odd number just in case, but that's up to you. You're in the important chair. Okay.
My only question is why the waiver for the landscape? Just give me some reasons.
It's a good question. I don't have a really great reason for you, but basically, we didn't want to have a lot of grass and bushes and things that were going to be maintained around the building. Because so I guess I didn't really say, this is more of a maintenance type building where they have excavators and things coming in at all times, dump trucks, cranes, whatever it may be. If we were required to put in some bushes and things, I don't think it would be.
But it is pretty secluded from Vaughn Road. The way the driveway is, there's a 8-foot, 10-foot berm on both sides of it.
Do you have a photo of that? Because I didn't go check it out.
Of the berm.
Of the berm, just sort of what the site
Gonna
looks
take a
like.
photo of that today.
I
too.
think Street View.
That's
Show it.
added.
We see there.
So this is very rough.
So that's a similar building, right?
It's a similar building.
Looks like a real building.
It is a real.
It is.
The eye is getting very good at what it's.
No, that is, that's right in Henniker.
They already built it, they're just asking for it. All right. So if I put in. If I put it, that's right.
Oh, with nicer colors on it. You want to see it? No, sound good, thanks.
Yeah, so maybe where the second Vaughn is down, yep, right in that area right there.
Okay, so this mouse is
Oh, yeah.
extremely unresponsive. So I actually do know how to use a mouse.
Oh, there are street.
Oh,
There you go.
Perfect.
That's not updated.
Yeah.
Those trees are gone, but the mound is about that high all the way down Vaughn Road now.
And then which way is the driveway?
So yeah, maybe if you go,
Yeah.
maybe go towards the stop sign, but it looks like that is.
So there was 3 deer up on the top of the.
Yeah, it looks very different now. The mound is about that same height, but those trees are not there, and the driveway's a belt right there.
Yeah, so
Yep,
that's
I was gonna
about
say-
5 years ago, right?
Yep.
It's just past the hydrant.
Yep.
So the driveway cuts in here. And so the driveway cut is existing. They already have a driveway permit for that, so that's not an issue at all.
Yeah. Picture.
No, he's got a way better.
Wow, yeah, that's actually a good picture.
Check out the deer on top of the mountain.
Yes.
And you didn't have to get in under the water.
So you run up the pile, it's crazy.
Public hearing for Don. Public hearing for Don can talk.
So you can see it's pretty well hidden from.
And that low area is deer.
And there is grass on the knoll. It can't see it, you can't see it in the snow covered picture, but
We actually had a couple of guys trimming it today.
yeah, that's right.
So the spot where the little piece of guardrail is, that's the driveway.
Why did all the trees get cut down?
Just to try to allow us to have that mound because it wasn't really well hidden, not hidden, but you could see it pretty well from the street, even with the trees there.
Oh, nice. You see the deer.
So even without the trees.
Right, yeah. I see that.
No trespassing.
Nice one.
Okay, all right, yeah, let's open the public hearing.
Don Burby, 135 River Road. Which I'm just on the backside of the property. Hadley's a wonderful neighbor. Comments I'm on the landscaping, the front of the property along 3A is beautiful. They keep the landscape nice. The back, you got one area you can see in, it's a big laydown yard. Obviously things change all the time. I drive by it a couple times a day, obviously. I have no problem with this. I'm glad to see that they want to build a building in there and hope you approve it.
So you're fine,
I don't know if you got any other questions about the lot, because like I said, I've been looking at it for 20
So you don't feel landscaping is necessary?
No,
Okay.
no, because of the big berm, and they did a nice job on the berm.
Yeah.
If, you know, wildfire was on there and.
We try to put some clover for you deer too.
Yeah, right.
Get the plot ready.
All right, great. Is it all right if I go through a few things in my memo?
Sure, well, let's close the public. hearing.
Sure, yes, great.
Thank you.
Is it closed or?
Yes.
Okay, the Drinking Water Protection Committee had made a comment about using, reduced salt control best practices. They provided. I can explain what the documents are that you.
Yeah, basically they're BMPs. I have a copy of them. They're best management practices through New Hampshire DES for salt, how to store it, how to apply it, make sure that you don't apply too much. So we just basically grabbed the DES documents, the best management practices, and included them in our package. And we were planning on giving that same package to Audley. I suppose if you wanted, we could put an extra sheet together and put them on an actual sheet for the site plan, but I figured it would just be the same as.
At least maybe just a reference to them. I don't
Okay,
Yeah.
reprint them, but you could just,
okay.
that says that, and it might be made a condition of approval that.
Yep.
Are those practices that are currently used on the site? Or would this be new for this part?
I'm sure that they use
What, salt
practices.
internally?
I just don't know if they're these exact ones.
Best management practices.
Yeah, I'd have to see what the regulations are.
Yeah, it's more about calibration and making sure that you're not putting too much salt and things down.
We do have a calibrated spreader that we use. It's not something that we douse the whole area with salt, that's for sure.
A few other things. I just wanted to go through the items in the memo. The septic and driveway are all set. Approved. They noted on the plan that the site is in the Aquifer Protection District, and then in the memo, we also addressed the performance standards and indicated that they currently meet them all and will continue to do so. Just kind of a housekeeping thing is showing the right of way width on the plan. The distance between the monuments, the regulations say that distance between the monuments cannot exceed 500 feet. Some of them do. It seems unreasonable to ask them to add more monuments for this type of application. So I don't know how the board feels about that. So I feel that a waiver would be in order just to make that tidy.
And we can certainly, do you want that in writing or can we formally just, yeah, we'd also request a waiver for the setting of boundary monumentation every 500 feet or less.
There are currently monuments on the site. It's just some of them exceed the 500 foot.
So that'll be a third waiver they're requesting. Okay.
And then the aesthetic design standards. So obviously they're not going to be meeting 15.09, the minimum landscaping and screening. Well, there's no landscaping proposed. There is screening from the berm. It's not 100% screening because you can't have 100% screening. But I don't believe that the full performance standards there have been met. The building facade performance standards, a metal building is allowed in this area. It's a judgment call whether it's subtle and neutral colors and whether the roof forms are suitable. So that's a judgment call from the planning board. Do you propose green like the picture? And
So the building's actually gonna go white. It's gonna be trimmed in green and all the doors will be black.
Okay.
And there will be a paperclip somewhere on the top of it. I thought about that, man, but these are the colors right here if you want to pass them around. It's that like ivory white with the emerald green.
Yeah, like an ivory.
Ivory and the evergreen.
So we can blend it with the trees.
We grant waivers.
well, 1510, you could decide that it is suitable. And I don't know if 1510 for the building facade performance, it doesn't necessarily need a waiver.
Okay.
I
think white and green is fine.
It's not like orange or something.
Now,
It's like the other buildings, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, so that one's probably fine. The screening performance requirements, that talks more about screening parking and screening, mechanical equipment, and it seems like generally the site is screened by the berm, so it could be said that that was met. And then same with the parking performance requirements, it says that there could be landscape at the edge of the parking lot if it's visible from the roadway. And I wasn't able to determine if the parking was gonna be visible from the roadway.
I don't think it will be because you come in and
It
then
comes
take
in at-
take a
right.
break. So it's the parking area shouldn't be really visible.
Okay, so that shouldn't be a problem. And then the environmental performance standards. Those are about noise and vibration, So it's not, you just pull up exactly. The response is that it's not gonna be any additional, it's gonna be the same use that's already happening on the site.
Okay.
That one is about. So there's maximum permissible sound levels. Site may very well already exceed, I have no idea. And vibrate, I don't know if there are earthborne vibrations.
Earth's boring.
No.
Earthborne vibrations. No vibrations.
just fixing equipment.
It's like-
Same way we've been doing it.
Right,
Yeah, the activity on the site's not going to change. It's just.
exactly. So this building isn't making anything worse, I guess.
We're taking a building that was there in 1959 and we're just updating it with, some better amenities so that way we can work a little bit easier.
It's a little more energy efficient.
Yeah,
It looks
a lot more.
It looks a lot nicer too.
So are you tearing down an existing building? Was that?
Absolutely not.
No, okay.
So we'd actually do 4 waivers, which is the monuments, 1509, no landscape proposed. And then the actual waivers being requested, 502Q and 802 double C. Those would be the 4 waivers we'd go for. We actually not, we haven't actually got to the waiver discussion. I'm just getting my,
Figure out what.
Getting us notes.
yeah, I'll be more clear. I'll make a motion. This does not have regional impact.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And so the waivers that we're gonna, I'll just do them in order, Ginger. So one is the distance between monuments. So we would offer a waiver that they don't have to put monuments every 500
You
feet.
don't need to add any new monuments.
And they don't have to add any new monuments. We do, remind me.
Do them together.
Okay. The second waiver
The
is
section.
Yeah, section is 5.02 T.
that's 5.02 Ginger. The second waiver would be 15.09. There's minimum landscaping and screening performance standards since there's no landscaping proposed. Then the next waiver would be 502Q, which is the requirement of a landscaping plan. And then the final waiver would be 802CC, which is the certification signature of licensed land surveyor.
So the one additional one is the right of way width. Technically, if the right of way of the adjacent street is not meet standard, they would need to give additional right of way. It doesn't make sense for this project. And they provided the street width, not the right of way, so I couldn't confirm. It looked narrow.
So
I
which,
think to be safe, it's good to throw in an extra.
which number?
That is 5.02 P.
And Ginger, so fifth waiver would be for 5.02P, which is for right of way width. So do you want to vote to approve those or someone has to second it, I guess?
Yeah. I'll second.
Can we, before we do that, can we just talk a little bit
Hold on, so
about?
she seconded it, so now it's
Oh.
open to discussion.
Okay, gotcha.
That's good.
On the surveyor one,
Yeah,
why can't the surveyor sign off on the plan?
So the drawing that we got, the CAD drawing that we got was done, like in 2005, well before, we got involved with the project. And there was also some minor updates in topo that Audley did with their own equipment. And then what we did when we got on site, especially for the so when we do so I'm a licensed septic designer. When I do that, I have to go make sure that that topo is good when I go to actually submit my application for the septic design. So we went out and spot checked everything to make sure that we were good with that. We were, so we moved forward, but I think it would be difficult to go back to Hayner Swanson and ask him to sign off on something that was done 20 years ago. And I'm not even sure who it was originally done for at Audley. And we're confident with what we're doing in that one location, because the survey that was done by Hayner Swanson was the whole entire perimeter of the 24 acres. So we're in a small half acre piece that we were comfortable and confident with.
And you're using LiDAR for the topo?
For the additional stuff on the outside, yes.
Okay,
Can call a vote.
okay.
So we need to vote on those waivers.
Oh, I'm
Seconded.
sorry. Yes, that's right. Okay. All in favor of the waivers that Kip motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Right.
And then we discussed for the approval criteria, one was the best management practices for salt reduction. Do you want any other conditions of approval beyond what you've listed?
Yeah, I have standard ones that are checklist items, like maybe one minor thing, let's say in the right of way. I'm not sure if there's anything else. The stamps and signatures and owner signatures on the plan, obviously minus the surveyor for this case. And the waivers and conditions need to be on the final plan. Anything else? And I guess there was a drainage report provided. I don't know if you took a look at that or had any questions. Seems.
Pretty sandy up there.
That's what I was gonna say. It seems like it would.
100%.
I don't think it would be a problem.
So I'll make the official conditions, addressing any missing checklist items, professional stamps and signatures minus the waiver we just granted. All waivers granted and conditions approved beyond the plan, and that you follow best management practices with salt reduction as the 4 conditions.
And they note that on the plan too.
And the salt reduction one. Okay.
Well, I guess it already will be as a condition.
Yeah.
Do you want it listed again?
Oh, right, okay.
So with those conditions, I would make a motion to approve. Application 206-24, Ryan Stacy, Audley site plan application for 12,000 square foot building.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Finding of facts. It's an appropriate building in an appropriate zone part of town.
The site is already well developed.
Yeah. This is seem to be improving an existing site is really what's happening. So.
Specific 10.05 or.
Those are for CUPs. Those are for CUPs. So we don't have.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
So that's my motion on the finding of facts.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Hi. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Once we get the notice of decision, we'll turn it around pretty quick.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Minutes.
I was a little nervous with your first one. I thought it was gonna be a long night.
Well, it's been a long night.
Well, when you add up all the time spent on it,
Boy.
Thank you. Minutes.
Carrie, can we ever use the AI companion to help with minutes?
I don't know if we've used that tool in particular, but I know Ginger uses like YouTube pulls up a transcript.
Oh.
And it's, well, how would you describe it? Choppy?
Shocking.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever tried the.
Because our AI, when we use it for work, it's
Is it good?
pretty good when it transcribes our meetings. So I don't know if that's something that could be helpful. I just noticed it on.
Yeah, I've never tried that tool. We should look at it.
Any changes, Sandy?
Well, the only, and it was actually more explanatory. So, on line 30, when it talks about the request was for a recommendation to the select board, I think that's it needs to vote on it. But that's, I think that was the only point that I had. Yes.
Do you want to just add in, the request was for a recommendation to the select board to vote on it?
Right, yeah,
that work?
to vote on it, yep, that's good. Oh, and then on line 78, capitalizing way.
Oh, how did you miss that? What's that?
Oh,
70.
Second last, third last word on page 6, way should be.
I was getting tired.
We both messed all of them.
Guys.
That's at the end.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes of August 15th, 2024. As amended.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey,
Opposed?
I said you're gonna go watch football or you gonna?
I just gonna make a couple of comments of a few things to mention. We are working, well, not we, the Board of Selectmen has authorized funding to greatly improve the technology in this room. So there will be a microphone in the ceiling and there will be a camera in the back somewhere mounted up high that'll actually show the whole table instead of.
I kind of like the fact that I'm not on.
Yeah, I like that.
Me too.
And it will also include a new, I think, bigger TV up there and a second one back there.
Wow.
So with.
Is it so people can see
It's a,
the presentation stuff?
it
Right,
would likely be higher quality,
it better be.
everything, so that like people, you can actually watch a meeting and not.
Oh, you can hear.
Yeah.
And hopefully like the mouse will work.
In the select board room, are we having individual mics or?
You're getting individual ones,
Okay.
but we're gonna do a ceiling one in this room. With that has been some discussion about the layout of this room. We heard some proposals, and I actually had it set up to try it tonight, and then someone came in and moved them. So then I didn't have time to move them again. I didn't have anyone to help me. So we had them set up in an L, so they would come across here and then go down there pretty far. And we had talked about maybe getting a podium to put over there so that someone could present to the board. There'd be side to the audience, but not full like back to the audience, because it is awkward for a presenter in this room.
Yeah.
To figure out. who
So
they're-
like they'd be able to have an easel on this side then?
Yeah, we put an easel there, an actual podium, and and when I worked in Salem, we had a podium, and it was helpful to make clear who
Who's
is
right to
speaking at
speak.
the time. So in a big public hearing with lots of concerned abutters, you call on a person, they step to the podium, and that's the only person who could talk. There would be a microphone at the podium. That's the person whose voice is getting picked up. Like, it's like a speaking stick. So it helps control the meeting a little bit, and it just, I don't know, it makes the room look a little.
That would be pretty, if the board's in this corner,
Now,
they can turn, and if somebody's over there, at a podium and an easel over there. So, right now, when they're set up in that corner, you can't.
Can't
see
do
them.
that.
You can't,
Right.
it just doesn't work.
it doesn't. And so in that case, that's why they put an L up there, so they could put the TV more on that side. So from the L, most of us could see it up there or up there. So. I don't know. Gonna try, it seems that, well, I moved it into an L and then it moved back. So it seems that other groups that use the room might be more comfortable with this layout.
I mean, this is kind of nice because sitting here, you can see everybody. I mean, so it's basically that table there would be flipped, turned out,
Yeah.
so when we have, when Mike's at the end of the table over there, it's, you know,
kind of a long line.
yeah.
So I'm not sure. I think what I would love is if we had modern tables that had casters. Because part of that is also is that they would like to redo the floors and we don't want to be moving tables around all the time if they're gonna have nice floors. So basically, we been asked to commit to a layout and not move the tables. But there's a lot of uses in this room, so.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see the L not being good, you know, if you're just gonna work with,
Yeah.
working, you know, even, you know, a lot of stuff, when we're working on stuff. It'd be nice to be able to swing the table.
So that's my hesitation about the L with these tables. I think if we were able to find funding for more flexible tables, really this room needs to be flexible to meet the needs of all of the different groups that use it. That's.
If there was a bigger TV up there, that may help, like if we ended up taking this table out and having a podium here, then the people in the audience could at least still see if it's a bigger, higher quality TV, what was happening if had an easel right here.
Yeah, the problem is like the speaker is facing directly their back to the
Yeah.
audience and to the camera.
That's, yeah, I guess you're right, 'cause the camera will be over there, yeah.
So that is this room. And they said ideally, really, a room like this needs a 2-camera system, but that requires a camera operator.
Right.
You know, Ginger and I are both pretty occupied, like just trying to keep things going, so. Yeah, so anyways, that's that. Other things I want to talk to, I went to a webinar today about some changes and. Did you go to that?
I did not.
There are some important things noted there, about some changes in legislation related to planning law that has recently come into effect. One that I'll mention today is that there is now an option for towns to consider allowing zoning amendments to be done by the Board of Selectmen instead of having to go to town meeting. So if we wanted to pursue that, we would put a warrant article for town meeting that would allow that to happen. And then in the future, zoning amendments would go through the same process with the planning board, the public hearings, and then the Board of Selectmen could hold a public hearing and make the zoning amendments. So it would certainly give more flexibility. It would remove that
annual basis.
time crunch to get it done and changes the format because we all know that zoning amendments, when you see them on the ballot and you're seeing it for the first time, most people don't know what they are or how it relates to them. So it changes the decision-making process. So I just want to bring that up.
You know, where that bill was from, or I'll have to.
I'll let them discuss that.
Keep on changing.
That's something to think about.
Okay.
That is a big part to think about with that is, you know, today's select board or anything, what's it gonna do next year, in 10 years?
Right.
Well, like, same could be said about the voters at town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You never know. I would hope that the Board of Selectmen would be coming to it more informed than the average voter showing up to vote at town meeting is.
People were
Just they have-
by the zoning ordinances. and if
I
they
know.
just, like their eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What are you trying to pull?
Unless you are in it, it's hard to understand. Yeah, yes.
I have a hard, there might be things that the select board might disagree with the planning board on, but if this room agrees that something is good, I find it very hard that room is gonna think it's not good.
That's true.
There needs to be a check and a balance on it, but I know we go through this and we're doing it for very logical reasons quite often, so that logic should play with the select board as well. So,
And there's the public hearing process built in for members of the public to bring up concerns any way along the way. So we may consider bringing that forward for town meeting this year and see what happens, but and then for October starts the double meeting cycle. So October, is it the 3rd? October 3rd is the first meeting in October. And Don and I talked, there's Bow Auto Parts is looking to do a new parking lot. And with the timing and winter coming, they really didn't have time to wait till the 17th. So we working with them to be a little flexible, squeezing them in on the 3rd. And then we'll use the rest of that time to work on zoning amendments and site plan and subdivision regulations. And then for October 17th is the regular meeting. Today was the deadline for that. We got a couple of applications in. We had our first CUP for a detached ADU. I'm pretty excited about that. That was a zoning change from last year. I've talked to so many people who've come in and said, I'm gonna do it. I give them a copy of the application, go through the whole thing. And then we never get them, never hear from them again. This is the first one who actually submitted it, so that'll be great. And then we got a revised or a new site plan from Optimistic Brewery for their newly designed site with the driveway. Basically just a mirror image, the driveway and the building kind of flipped. And a modification to the Amber Bow project on Dow Road for their phase 2. Slight change to the square footage of the building and yeah, so that's what's coming for October.
Great. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.